The read from the former Assistant Secretary of State for President Bush, 43, Robert Charles. Secretary, that is a big difference, isn't it? I mean, it's just a few hours and done. Do you think they'll stick to that, even if it looks promising?
I think the average American should look at this with confidence and also a degree of caution. And two things to clear out of the way right away. I mean, to answer your question sort of around a bend here, I think that the homework has all been done. You couldn't ask for four smarter people to be sitting in the room with Kim. Don't think for a minute that Pompeo, who was #1 at West Point, hasn't done his homework, and the others who will be with him equally. I think the allies also are brought around. I mean, there's no question that the State Department is briefing everybody up to the date. What does success look like here in the few hours that they have? I think if they can come away with an agreement on definitions, which means that they agree that denuclearization is either the disarmament or elimination of those weapons and the capacity to create them, #1. #2, a next step, which I think they've already set in place, which is the idea that you will you'll have another meeting of principals. It won't necessarily be right away with presidents, but you'll go to the next level. And finally, the most important part is that both parties have a meeting of the minds, and when this thing is said and done, both walk away with the perception that they can agree that there is mutual benefit in getting rid of the nuclear weapons, perhaps economic and security benefit, and that China buys into that. That's the total ball of wax. But at the end of the day, this just sitting down and engaging with this country, the first time these two the presidents of these two countries, ours and theirs, have met in 70 years, is an enormous success all by itself. And it is tantamount to the meeting with Mao by Nixon or Reagan with Gorbachev.
Yeah, I mean, we forget in that 1972 exchange between Mao Zedong and Richard Nixon, it's not as if they immediately settled and brokered a peace agreement. Of course, Richard Nixon famously triangulated that situation so that he pitted Russia, then the Soviet Union against the Chinese. That was then. There was a lot of expectation going into this meeting that there might even be a cessation of the hostilities that have existed between North Korea and the United States all these many years, and that would cease. The reason why I mention it, Secretary, is that it seemed like the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, was intimating something could be done, and I was thinking of that. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, look where we are right now. There is a de facto secession right now. So the president has moved in the right direction already by engaging and boldly engaging. I think Secretary Pompeo is right to be talking about that as a potential option, but I think it would have to be part of a larger understanding that we have a mutual interest and that China shares that mutual interest in getting rid of all nuclear weapons on the peninsula. And at the end of the day, you got to remember, this is a chess game. Chess games can be won and lost in 5 moves, or they can take a long time. And this really is a process beginning. I think expectations need to be kept in check. But for myself personally, I am more optimistic than I probably have been in 6 months, and I think there's a real chance something good could come out of it.
All right. When you say something good coming out of it, and let's say a cessation of hostilities here, a part of that then would then remove the reason why we have, 30,000 plus troops or whatever it is at the demilitarized zone. Would that put pressure on us to remove those troops or start removing them?
The truth be told, we kept troops in Europe for an awful long time. We keep troops all over the world today for stability purposes. They are a tripwire. They are also a deterrent. They are also an assurance to allies that no bad thing will happen. What you'd love to see is liberty begin to percolate in North Korea, and in 10 years' time, we're looking back at this and saying, wow, this was tantamount really to the Reagan-Gorbachev meeting. This really triggered a sequence of events that cascaded in the right direction. But until you get to that point, you have to keep all your deterrents in place.
All right, Secretary, very good seeing you. We'll see what happens tonight, tomorrow morning, whatever the truth may be.